So I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled, that we have not one, but two global leaders to talk about a very urgent topic, protecting children caught in armed conflict. Child Fund and WeWorld are both members of the Global Child Fund Alliance. We work together on child sponsorship and other programs. We advocate at the global level for child protection and rights. And we also support each other in humanitarian responses, which is what we're talking about today. The UN issued their annual report on children in armed conflict. The impacts on children in the year 2024 was particularly distressing. Isam, I'd love for you to reflect a little bit.
The protection of children is extremely central to our focus as ChildFund International. We want really to help these children grow up healthy, educated, skilled, and safe online and safe offline. And there are many examples of the services we provide. We do what we call the child-centered spaces or the safe spaces, where there is a place, whether it is a tent or a permanent structure, it will be modified and turned into a very safe space for children, where children will be extracted from that traumatic situation. They can come and play and enjoy a physical space and an emotional space that will be helpful to them to deal with the trauma. And we use that time to teach them, to educate them, to support them emotionally and psychosocially, identify some of the cases that need follow-up and case management, as well as really working with parents to provide them with counseling and physical support. This is in addition to the normal physical needs that we try to address, from providing them with nutrition, blankets when it is cold, a place to stay, shelter, providing them also with education materials, with playing type of equipment, so that they can enjoy their childhood and deal with the trauma. And then we help them really to transition in the best possible way during the recovery phase of any emergency.
In all the countries where we're working, of course, children are our main focus because they are the future. If we give them the chance to learn, to be to avoid as much as possible dangerous areas, to give them the chance to, also from a psychological point of view, to be supported, then of course which give the chance of a new and future generation to be able to be in their community, to stay in their community, and to develop and build their communities. In Ukraine, for example, we are working in the eastern line, near the front line, and children haven't been able to go to school for the last 3 years because it's too dangerous, because school do not have bunker against air raid for all the students. And for example, what we are trying to do is to find the child-friendly spaces and create child-friendly space in your bunker. So if there is an air raid, they can go to the bunker and get safe. Regarding Gaza, WeWorld has been working in Gaza since 1997, and Gaza's situation is really peculiar because it's the only conflict around the world where people cannot escape. You cannot exit Gaza. We have been providing water. We have been building latrines because people and IDPs have moved from place to another. And once you move to a place with nothing, and you've got also to build tent, you need to build a latrine. We have been providing them with hygiene kits. Women during, for example, their menstruation period, we provided them with hygiene pads and everything that needed to wash them and wash their children. We have been providing children with education in terms that we built child-friendly spaces where can at least for some hours a day, be again children and be able to learn, to play. Of course, the problem is that, there is this bug of the drones that are keeping, circulating over their heads. So it's quite nearly impossible to forget even for 1 minute where they are. But at least we give them the chance to be with our psychologists, to be with our teachers, educators, in order to give them the chance to live as much as possible as children. And of course, providing them clean water in order to try to avoid the spread of diseases and that. So, and Afghanistan, that's another place where we're working with children and another target, widows. And you probably know that since the return of the Taliban, women cannot work in Afghanistan. So if you are a widow and nobody from your family that supports you, there is no chance you have to feed your children, to send them to school at least as long as they are allowed to go to school, especially for girls. So we support these families, these children, providing them with cash for work, providing them with livelihood tools so that they can have the chance to be fed, to go to school, and especially for the girl to avoid to get married at 12, 10, 12, their children are not brides. Again, also in Syria, there has been a long-lasting civil war, over 10 years of civil war, and we've got children, for example, that are now teenagers, that have never had the chance to go to school, and somehow they're also afraid to go back to school with their first grades because they've got a different age. In that case, for example, we implement remedial classes, remedial education, so to give them the chance to learn among their peers, among children of their same age, and to go back to the school track, to the school system once they know how to read and how to calculate math. So our idea is to try to support them from all aspects, from security point of view to the development point of view, and of course, to provide them with clean water and feed them when needed, because that is also another big part of our job.
So one of the major, I think, effort now is what we call the resilience. And the resilience in very brief words mean strengthening these communities to absorb the shock when it happens, to recover from it quickly and adapt, because many of these conflicts change the social, economic, and political situation. And therefore, they need to be equipped with life skills. They need to be equipped with that hope and some sort of the emotional stamina that will allow them really to deal with all these problems. It will really help them to grow up also with that kind of mindset. I can do good and I can do bad, and that is a choice. And therefore, we focus on the fact that children never thrive in isolation. Children live in a family, they live in a community, they live with their peers. So always there is an ecosystem. There are a lot of factors that surround children's well-being, and we have to take care of all of these elements.
Nowadays, we are talking about chronic emergencies, while in the past, we had humanitarian situation that in a couple of years, 5 years, was solved. And now we've got humanitarian situation that have been lasting for over 30 years. So if 30 years ago, one of our priority, for example, was to provide food, water, and health, now one of our priorities is also to provide education, because education can also save children's life. I'm referring, for example, what we are doing in Ukraine is to train children to recognize mines, or we provide information about how to use water, because some of the children used to have water tap, so they don't know that water now is not safe anymore. You have to take some precautions before drinking water. Really, education, it really gives the chance not only to grow as a good citizen, and to give the chance to grow within their community and to improve their community, but also it's life-saving for them in some cases.
Emergency response or disaster response is not like a sector per se. It is a moment of time. It is a moment of time when the livelihoods and lives of the people we are working will be affected or jeopardized. And therefore, we should always keep it as a central and integral piece of our programmatic effort, of our policy effort. And we should always look in our partnership and relationship to have that capability to really support people when they are in that situation.
There is definitely hope, and this hope comes from the fact that so many families also around the world keep supporting us. There are so many actors that are still believing in a better world. Our claim as reward is that changing the world is a team effort, and being part of this alliance is part of this team effort. Of course, if we see the data that Isam was mentioning before, sometimes you really lose hope. But as a matter of fact, there are also many and thousands of good ends and places and communities that were able to build a better future for their children, for their sons and daughters. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here after so many years.
Yeah, thank you, John, and thank you everyone for joining us. Yeah, I have been doing this job in this type of business for about 40 years now. And since that time, I think I participated or witnessed all major international disasters in Somalia, in Sudan, in Rwanda, in Asia, in the Sahel of Africa. Children generally are in a very difficult situation now, but there is hope. Always you reach the bottom, and then with the collective effort of everyone, we can resolve all these problems. There are the resources, there is the knowledge, there is the technical know-how, if there is a will, basically, to help people thrive again.
That's great. Well, thank you both. Thank you both for your leadership and all the work that you're doing around the world. We are grateful for everyone who's a part of this work and a part of this journey to protect children everywhere. Thank you very much, and we look forward to talking again soon.